Now, let's get this out of the way right off the bat. I'm just going to say that if you are a frequent listener of the things that I put here on this podcast, then you probably know that sometimes when I talk about this director, Zack Snyder, I usually wind up praising him. I am a big fan of his. There are few things of his that I would say that I hate. Even films like Sucker Punch, which is probably one of his worst films, I still find enjoyment in it here and there. You know, it's the action that gets me. I don't take that film seriously. And I don't think a lot of other people do either. So, what we're going to talk about now, it's the Army of the Dead film that Netflix let Zack Snyder do. And what I mean by let is they basically gave him free reign to kind of do whatever he wants. And I think that comes off of the tails of the coattails of the success of the Snyder Cut Justice League, and showing what he can do when he has this kind of vision of his own and given free reign. It can be something worthwhile. Now, again, I went into this as a Zack Snyder fan. I went into this understanding that I'm already kind of a little bit late to the game, which is fine. It's only been out for about 2 weeks or something like that. But it is very, very poorly. I don't even want to say poorly. The reception is very mixed. And it's mixed on the terms that a lot of people were expecting something outside of the superhero realm, but going back to his older days of, say, like 300, which is a fantastic film, and nobody can really debate that. So, when it comes to this film, you have to understand that maybe he's got a little full of himself. Maybe all of the stuff that came with the success of his version of the Justice League, and maybe him finally getting the kind of free reign, nobody really on his back about anything, he kind of could have done what he wanted to do. Maybe that did get a little bit away from him, but what I will say is, even though this isn't the greatest zombie movie, nor is it the best Zack Snyder film, I don't see it, breaking any box office numbers, but it is enjoyable. I won't deny that it took the first 45 minutes of the film to get me completely annoyed, which, by the way, it's 2.5 hours, which is a long time, but it doesn't feel bloated. All of the content does kind of feel like necessary, so I do feel like the story is kind of well put together, even though, to me, the story's garbage. Like, there's a small zombie apocalypse happening in Las Vegas. Las Vegas has been quarantined. Why is it that there's a heist to get like $200 million out of the vault of this casino? Why that's the focus? Beyond me. And I remember watching and I looked to my wife and I said, you know what I really am getting annoyed by when it comes to these zombie stories is that the military sucks. Like, why is it that every time there's a zombie film, the military just sucks? Any story, you pick it, military cops, they're fucking useless. But this ragtag band of nobodies that used to friggin' just be housewives and burger flippers, like, apparently they're able to fucking manage. Beyond me, but I digress. So, the first 45 minutes, when it builds up to what the essential plot of the film is just very, very annoying. We paused it at least, I want to say, maybe 7 times, just so we could point out all of the idiot choices and the poor plot devices. Like, I'm also really annoyed by the movie trope that is the annoying teenage son or daughter or just character that's in the group. Like, why is it that there's always this portrayal of the youngest person is always the most stubborn in any group? It gets really annoying after a while. And I'm not gonna lie, I've also been, I've also fallen into that realm as well. I wrote a story for my other podcast pretty recently because I'm trying to get another episode up on there. And yeah, it has a teenager who's dumb. Like, it's just, I guess, being that I've also become a victim of, say, that writing style. I can understand why it's so used, but there's also an idea of it being overly used, and it's also whether or not it's used well. In my opinion, I dislike the relationship they've built between Dave Bautista and who is supposed to be his daughter figure in the film. I dislike the, say, animosity she holds towards him. So, putting that aside, what happens? He's a dude, he used to go in there, he used to save people. Okay, that makes sense. Maybe if it was like somebody's daughter had to be saved. Maybe it was like there's a big piece of information that's in there on like a hard disk. We need you to go get it for like the government or whatever. But no, it's just this friggin' rich dude who's like, I've got $200 million in a vault in the casino, and my insurance company has already covered it, so I need you to go in there and get it because it's free money. I'll give you $50 million. Go get it. Put your team together, split it however you want, go get the money. And I'm like, really? This is the reason why they're going to be going in there? Like, is this a thing? And then, of course, looming in the background is also the idea that this hasn't spread outside of Las Vegas, apparently, so what the plan is, like what the government plans on doing, is they plan on nuking Las Vegas as well. So all that stuff is apparently going to be buried under rubble and whatnot. So, of course, there's a time constraint. There's the idea of getting out of the quarantine zone. It's putting the team together. There's a lot that it puts into it that really does, like, build, say, maybe not even characters, but, like, character relationships outside of what the father-daughter perspective is. And then again, once it gets past that 45 minutes and you get a little annoyed, I want to say right at like the 50-minute mark, it pulls out Zombie Tiger, and I'm like, okay, this is what I came here for. I came here for some over-the-top zombie stuff that's just going to be super cool and super fun to watch. So, after the 45-minute mark, which is a very extended, say, build-up to what the actual film is, it's all about them actually getting there and understanding, you know, their surroundings and, you know, their team dynamic and whatnot. So the rest of the film is good. It's enjoyable. So that's what I'm going to say. First 45 minutes is garbage. Everything after that, except for maybe the ending as well, is fun. All of the fighting is fun. All of the zombie deaths are fun. Even the idea of, you know, seeing zombies in this fashion, which it hasn't even been told if it's, say, an actual zombie outbreak, if it's a government experiment, or even if it's aliens. They tease a whole bunch of other things, but I'm not going to get into all that in-depth stuff because, to be honest, I really don't care for the movie that much because it's just a fun film. You know, this is like doing an in-depth analysis for the Expendables films. The Expendables films don't need in-depth analyses, and neither does The Army of the Dead. It's just a fun film, as long as you can get past that 45-minute hump of dealing with, you know, character introduction, you know, the poor plot devices. If you can get past that and get to the actual heist, or the journey for the heist, it's good. It's enjoyable. I didn't mind it. I'm not going to sit here and say that it's the best Zack Snyder film, because it 100% is not. But it's not the worst. And I can say that it is definitely not the worst. And I don't know what this is going to lead into as far as what, say, his next film is, or what his next project could be. But it is not his worst project. It's not 300. It's not the Justice League. But it is not bad.